So everyone, thank you for tuning in. Today is a very interesting video, and I think one that the hobby, specifically soccer collecting, needs to see. It's about the 7 hidden rookies or debut tickets that are yet to be found. Now, it's an interesting video because some of these tickets might not ever get found, and it's also very interesting to the fact that all of them currently are pop 0 at PSA. So none of them are yet to be discovered. So hopefully this video gives you the education you need to go find it, and then also the extra drive and insight into what that is. Now, if you are a sports car collector or have come from sports car collecting, you understand the importance of the first example. Now, if you're looking at sports cars, the first example doesn't have to relate specifically to the debut, whereas in ticket collecting it does. So if that debut ticket is not found, what else is there to collect? So we'll loop back to that at the end. There's many options in which that could be, whether it be a World Cup debut, European debut, but we'll talk about that later in the video. But let's start by talking about player number 1 and his lost debut, which is Pele. So on the 7th of September 1956, Pele made his debut. This was 2 years before his debut for the World Cup, in which this ticket sells for $6,000. So, and has also seen highs of $45,000. So a very big ticket if the pro debut is ever to be found. And interestingly, it was a 7-1 victory to his team in which he did score. So not only is this the pro debut, but it's also pro goal number 1. So that holds a lot of value. Now, I would love to know if this is ever found, but I think there are a few things which may stop people finding it, and that's, was the event actually ticketed? Now, there is no documentation of this yet, so we don't 100% know, but we know that this era there was ticketing, and a lot of the tickets didn't have either the date or the team names. So if it is ever found, it's going to be very difficult to identify if it was from that specific game. But it's a journey and it's a hunt, and I guess that's why we love it so much, because there's so many unanswered questions. But if that is found, that has to be the first 6-figure sale potentially in ticket soccer collecting. So that's definitely number 1 on the list. But number 2 is Diego Maradona. Now on the 20th of October 1976, just a year before his international debut, he made his debut for an Argentinian club called Argentinos Juniors. Now, this is obviously a very significant moment. It's the beginning of his journey, but it is only 1 year before the international debut, which we know. And that's also very rare. So if this pro debut ever comes to fruition and ever surfaces, it will be a massive ticket. We can only speculate at this point, but it's got to be around the 10 to 20k figure for a pro debut of this player. Diego Maradona is one of the GOATs in soccer collecting, and the fact that it's so extremely rare only adds another layer of that. Now, I've not been able to find any research on if this game was ticketed, but it's going to be difficult to find out. So if you do have any friends in Argentina, or if even better you live there, you have an amazing opportunity to reach out to them or reach out to the community of those fans on Facebook groups, or even go to the games and speak around, ask questions, potentially even, speak to the older people and ask around if that game was ticketed. And that is your best bet at this point. But in number 3, I think this is an interesting one, will be Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Now, this is the most likely one that you might find because it is a pretty common game, and we know for a fact that these games in this era were ticketed, dated, and have team names on. So this is really your best chance at finding one of these hidden rookies, and this is Zlatan Ibrahimovic. The information on this is 19th of September 1999, so that's the date you want to be looking out for, and this was, I believe, in Sweden. So it's going to be a difficult find, but it's not to say that they're not out there. We've seen many of the World Cup tickets from the 1958 Sweden World Cup, which have come to surface. So potentially an opportunity to network with those same individuals to find these tickets. Now, again, this is going to be a huge moment, so make sure you get hunting for this one. So the next one is Neymar Jr., one of the greats. And again, I come on to a more likely one that we will find or could find. Pele is extremely unlikely, but this one we have hope. And that was, and I've got the facts and figures down here, 21,918 people in attendance at the Pacaembu Stadium, in which Santos, which is his first club, played against Oster de Itapolis. This was in 2009, so relatively recent, so we know it probably won't have been an e-ticket, but would have been a physical ticket, and the likeliness of this being found is relatively high, but it is yet to surface. So we've seen the Barcelona debut, we've seen the Brazil debut, but we've yet to see this one ever surface, and it is possible. So keep your hopes alive. I wouldn't say it's as likely as a Zlatan ticket, But again, if you know anyone in the Santos fans or fan groups or anything like that, they have a cult following. So if you can tap into some of the key hobbyists in that industry or in that team, you have a good chance at finding it. Now, research-wise, this was probably the hardest one, and this was Puskas. So from my research, there's no debuts of this ever to surface, and his club at the time changed name. So this makes things even more difficult because it might be labelled one or the other, and the exact date is unknown. But what we do know is that he started his career at a team called Kipest, which then converted to Budapest Honved, which you may know today. So that was in the era of around the 50s, but he joined that club in 1939. So anywhere between 1939 and around 1950 is when he made his professional debut. So it's likely to be in that era, but there's no specific dates, and kind of one where you might have to dig even deeper into the research, into the books, into the programs and things like that to understand when he made his specific debut. But even on his own official website, there's no exact mention of a debut, which there is for the likes of Pele. So it does make it even more difficult. It's a pre-Pele ticket. It is a ticket which is extremely desired. Puskas is, a very memorable player in any football career, and beyond, the modern legends like Maradona, Messi and Ronaldo, he is one of those which stick out as a fantastic player throughout time. So definitely one you want to get hunting for. So the next one is Alfredo Di Stefano, the only Super Ballon d'Or winner. He's got some really interesting rookie cards, and if you can find his debut ticket, that is a very interesting pickup. Now, what we do know is that he joined River Plate in 1943, which would have been his first professional club, but I believe he went on loan straight away to another club in 1944, in which he might have made his debut there. So that team is called Atletico Huracan. Now, I don't know whether the debut was in either River Plate or this team, but it will be interesting to find out. Potentially he played a friendly, and then there's that debate there about friendlies, but it's likely that he made it in 1944. However, if you dig deeper, the research might prove otherwise. So make sure you go above and beyond when you do find these sort of tickets. Now, again, it's an early ticket. It's a pre-Pele ticket, if you want to put. So it's going to be a hard find. And on top of that, was it even ticketed? I know in Argentina, the stadiums were pretty jam-packed at that time. So they definitely were busy, and they definitely were selling out when I've looked at the footage. But whether it was ticketed is yet to be discovered. So you're going to have to do more research. In my opinion, it's likely that there is one out there, absolutely. But again, from that era of 1943, just after the war, things weren't kept as much and clearances have happened throughout time. So it's an unlikely find, but if you can, you're in for a gem there. And to wrap things up, it's El Fenomeno R9, and that is his debut in 1993, I believe. There are some debuts, like a PSV debut that you might find in 94, but the official pro debut, the professional debut, was on the 25th of May, 1993, from all my research. Now, again, I can't find this ticket. No one has yet to find this one, and when it does surface, it's going to be a big one, just based on the sales data that we've got from his World Cup debut, from the sales data of his Barcelona debut and things like that. So definitely one you want to look out for, and it was in 1993, so the probability that this one will be found is very high, and I hope that someone finds it, because it could be one of those Zidane moments with the Zidane debut where only one has ever been found, and when it does, it's kind of an eye-opener and an inspiration to others to get hunting for collecting tickets. Now, to summarise, if these debuts are never found and they truly are lost rookie debut tickets, then what is there to collect? Now, it's a context-dependent one. If you look at the likes of Alfredo Di Stefano, he made his debut in around 1943, 1944, but it wasn't until, he made his Real Madrid debut, which is his most prolific journey, that people might collect. So potentially the Real Madrid debut might be the next one, but it could be, again, the international debut. There's the dispute of European debut, which I don't really agree with. There's a World Cup debut, which I'm not too fond of unless they're a prolific World Cup player. I would go with the pro debut, potentially if they're a striker or a pro goal, but then we're looking at international debut and things like that. So the European debut was one that kind of floated around for a while. It doesn't ring too true in my opinion. For some, it plays a role, but I don't think it's as important as potentially pro goal if they were a attacking player. It's a bit of a different video, but I hope it's an eye-opener, a bit of research that I've done into this. Now, not all of the information might be entirely true. With this industry, we might go back, I get more knowledge, and then reflect back and say maybe that wasn't a debut. So definitely dig deeper, speak to as many people as you can, and unearth these hidden rookies. And I hope that keeping an eye on the PSA pop, that some of these will hopefully come to surface. And yeah, we can go from there. But thank you everyone for listening. Please press like, comment if you ever find one of these, or message me on Instagram at ticketswithtay.